morning, ladies and gentlemen of the room. We'd like to thank you for inviting us back here today to help you in your decision of whether or not to enter in these emerging markets for profit, but with the ethical concern of these governments asking you to provide confidential and private information to them. Now, there are some ethical concerns that I would like to point out to you today. I will outline these to you, as well as the problems that will result from them. Phones these days track their users. Mostly it is harmless, but there is some legal use for it. The fact that it can condemn you is also offset by the fact that it can absolve you. Now, the UAE can do this right now, but the UAE can do this right now. RIM is only a hardware and software company. It does not provide the cellular service. But the UAE doesn't have any way of tracking this data. They need RIM to provide them with the information. This is why Saudi Arabia and the UAE want RIM to give them the information. It is because of the encryption and decryption of data. It is computationally difficult to decrypt modern data, and that is why they needed to provide you with the information, because they do not have enough time to do their own tracking. With the information it provides, they can then start their own tracking. It is unethical and unfair for these companies to threaten RIM with expulsion if they do not comply with their government's demands. But unless there is a law in place, RIM cannot provide these governments with the information officially. Remember, it is the underlying fundamental issue of privacy and freedom of speech that the United Nations created a law of fundamental human rights, and the same ethical issues are utilized in the analysis.
Hello, and I, Lewis, will be further outlining the ethical issues with an application known as CIMAC, which is founded on a common framework of legal analysis. While you, RIM, are stakeholders, consequences for additional stakeholders may vary. Shareholders will continue to lose profit, employees will lose their jobs, and also management are also going to lose their reputations. This is going to inhibit any sort of future potential job offers. Also, citizens of repressive governments can be jailed for the information that is released. There's also large corporations such as Boeing and Northrop Grumman who will have their private information put at risk, and the US government employees as well who are working on projects, and these projects can be compromised. Competitors like Apple's iPhone and Google's Android devices are going to use this to their advantage to acquire your former customers. And some of the ethical issues that are relevant include the loss of customers for RIM, gaining and keeping customers in repressive governments, as well as the citizens and residents of these countries that have no privacy or freedom of speech laws. Now, in countries like Saudi Arabia, people can be stoned, killed, or jailed for any, like an extramarital affair, for an example. There's also the issue of political dissidence. They do not want any protesting happening in their country. And two applications that will be used are the cost-benefit application, which was going to look at the short-term and long-term outcomes and consequences. One of the major costs are that you're going to lose even more of the market share globally than you already have. You're going to continue to lose customers as well as profit, revenue, and stock. And also there's the loss of your reputation as a company that provides extreme security. And there is the issue of breach of contract lawsuits. The only foreseeable benefits are that you're going to please the repressive governments in the Middle East, and since it's the only place in the world where your market share is still growing, it's going to be tempting from a business standpoint to want to please them to make immediate profit. And since a fundamental human right has been injured, I will be using the rights-based application, which looks past the financial and legal consequences. Repressive governments are going to punish their citizens for any sort of extracurricular activities that are going on in their country that they deem immoral or unethical according to their social and cultural standpoints. The information they say that's going to be used to fight terrorism is actually going to be used to fight political dissidents. They do not want any protesting or revolution happening in their country. these governments are absolute monarchies and dictatorships. They do not want to lose power. And the UN declared that it is a fundamental human right to have access to internet, which gives people access to information, which allows them to have a revolution, to protest, to create a new government to which they can live freely. They do not want an issue like a situation happening in Libya happening to them. And also, they do not want a revolution happening in Egypt, which was started on Twitter, which is easily accessible through BlackBerry devices. Physical, emotional, and mental health is also an issue. People will harm themselves or kill themselves if they cannot express who they are freely or do what they want to do that's not harming anyone in a country that they call home. And now Mr. De Leon will provide you with the recommendation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moda. As we've reviewed all of the ethical considerations that go into making this decision, we would like to conclude today with a few of our recommendations. First and foremost, we recommend that you do not unilaterally comply with the demands of these governments. However, there are some cases in which there are legitimate needs for information in order to provide for national security. This was the case with the recent London riots as well. So, in order to not completely comply with these governments and provide that information, it is our recommendation that you go about negotiating some sort of a contract with these governments so that you would be able to provide just the pertinent information to prevent credible and imminent threats to their national security. In order to help you decide what is a credible and imminent threat to their national security, you may want to go ahead and acquire securities professionals for the assistance of this. However, during the contract negotiation, you must be sure to not release the encryption codes. These encryption codes are vitally important to you, RIM, because they're your leverage when negotiating with these countries. And they're vitally important to your clients as well, because were you to release these encryption codes, there would be nothing standing between these prying governments and your clients' private, privileged, and classified information. They would have all-out access to it. And that's where we feel you'd be treading into heavily unethical territory. However, were you able to negotiate this contract, where you were able to help them provide for their national security in legitimate instances of that need, and at the same time provide for your clients' confidentiality, then you would find yourselves in the most ideal situation of your current circumstance. And this is because you wouldn't be acting unethically, and you'd be able to enter these markets and develop your business. Now, as it states inside of your very own code of ethics, that we shall share and uphold our code. And when we share and uphold our code, not only can we create our best and most innovative work, but we also do it with pride and integrity. So I present this question to you, the Board of Directors of Research in Motion. Can you release your clients' private, privileged, and classified information and feel you've done so proudly and with integrity? Thank you very much.